introduce the very last phase of a project, the closing phase. Let's briefly go through the various phases we've seen in the previous lectures. We said that a project starts with the initiating phase, the phase where the project is born and we identify what may be an actual answer to the issue or to the opportunity which is triggering the project. That's the moment where we set the project goals and we start working on the scope of the project. The second phase, often overlapped at least partially with initiating, is the planning. That's the phase we paid more attention to, moving from the scope management till the creation of the time phase budget. That's also the phase where we've seen the vast majority of tools in the course. We've seen the scope statement, the WBS, the OBS, the RAM, the Gantt chart, the various tools for cost management, and then the project baseline. Then we have two parallel phases: executing, which we didn't discuss together since it's focused on the technical skills related to the specific domain of the project and not on the project management techniques, and the controlling phase, which we discussed with the Earned Value Management System and the system of the three curves, the BCWS, the ACWP, and the BCWP. Well, once the executing and the controlling phase are over, it means that we have done all the necessary activities to reach the final results of the project. This does not mean that the project is over. We still have one more phase to go through, the closing phase. Let's start with two considerations. First, the closing phase is actually a phase, not an instant in time or one activity. Second, it is probably the least considered phase of the entire project management discipline, but it may be one of the most relevant to create a proper project management culture in the organization. This is the phase in which we release the project output. We are delivering it to the customer, usually leaving it to the people that will actually manage the output of the project. Let's say this is the handover phase. Let's start from here. First of all, a good project plan should include from the very beginning the closing deliverable in the WBS, since this is still an activity which is part of the project. In this last phase, we should have various kinds of activities, mainly related to all the necessary quality checks on the deliverables. This means that the customer, whoever he is, needs to formally accept the output of the project. Let me remind you here of the acceptance criteria we mentioned in the scope statement. This is the moment in which we go back there and we check if we actually reached everything. A second set of activities, which is part of the closing phase, is related to the financial perspective of the project. In this course, we gave little space to the discussion of the economic and the financial aspects of the project, which is usually considered an advanced topic in project management. Nevertheless, even if we avoided complex calculation to assess the financial value ex ante, we must close the financial aspects in the closing phase. This means that we need to check that all the invoices have been issued and that we paid all the invoices we received. This is also giving us the final data to actually know the margin we had on our project and to make final consideration of the value created with the project. The third set of activity, which is part of this phase, is related to the lessons learned. Project management is a highly empirical discipline. We learn how to manage projects by managing projects. Courses like this one are catalysts that will let you learn faster, but still, project management needs experimentations, tests, and a lot of critical analysis, which happens in the closing phase. This is the phase in which we analyze, ex post, if and how we reach the goals we set, and therefore, this is, from the project management perspective, the most relevant phase. We have all the data coming from the previous phases, from the initial scope statement at the initial project plan, the sum of all the tools we discussed in the planning phase, and all the replanning we've done over time. We have all the data coming from the controlling phase, and finally, we have the actual data, how things actually went. This means we are ready for a critical analysis. Why things went differently? Was it poor planning? Was it poor anticipation? Were we actually using the proper project management approach? Answering to all these questions will help us in taking better decisions in future projects, relying on the experience we develop in this one, creating a positive reinforcing loop on our project management skills. This is also the moment in which we may gather all the data that will be useful for future planning activities, such as suppliers' performances or people productivity. We are almost at the end, but don't forget the good practices we introduced at the beginning. Involving the stakeholders is a great habit to learn things from other perspectives, and this is still relevant even in the closing phase. It is a good practice to organize feedback meetings with the customer, the team, and other relevant stakeholders, to gather also more qualitative information that may be useful in future projects. For example, involving the customer in this kind of meeting, it is a very good habit to reinforce the relationship and to create opportunities for new collaborations. To sum up, post-project reviews are important to create a feedback check among the expected results and what we actually get, to assess various KPIs, the profitability of the project, and possible opportunities for future projects. This is also the moment in which we may identify space for improvement at personal, collective, and even managerial level. One last thing. The closing phase is closed with the formal closure of the project itself. Don't forget to actually celebrate the closing of the project with the project team. This may take place in different ways, from a lunch together to a dinner or whatever, but this is essential in a relational perspective. At the beginning of this course, we spent a bit of time discussing how challenging a project may be from a human perspective. And well, don't forget it at the end. There may have been conflicts, hopefully overcome, but for sure the entire team learned something from each other and they may work together in the future. To officially close the project in an informal way is a very good habit to create a relaxed environment and to look forward to projects coming in.